Hello. Thank you for joining us again for episode number 29 of In My Experience.
I'm so glad you keep track of those things. 29, that's a good number.
It's an 11.
Yes, yes. I'm Piperlyne, and I'm here with Miss Sonya Lee.
Hello.
And we have been just chatting away this morning with our tea, just jumping
Yes, we have.
from one subject to another. And we're thinking that we've got a compilation of things to discuss with you today.
Yes, because it was one of those, I don't know what we're going to talk about days that then became, oh, we could talk about this, or we could talk about this.
Because we had a lot to talk about with each other. Sonya got new toys. And I mean toys in the most positive sense of the word. So she got new oracle cards called Sacred Rebels Oracle that we've been taking a look at. And she got a bowl.
Yes.
A singing bowl that is supposed to be for the crown chakra.
That's what they said.
Yeah.
It's very subtle, and yet it packs a wallop.
As she learned while she was playing with her toys.
Last
Maybe
night.
she'll talk about that later.
Be careful when you get a new toy. Sometimes you just want to jump in there and start doing things, but I didn't ground myself very well first.
Oh my gosh, you know what? That makes me think about the what did I say last week?
Yes.
Jumping timelines. And
yes.
I mean, I totally did that, and then I sat there and I was like,
Are you going to share that? Oh my God, it was so funny. It wasn't funny. I was very concerned, but it was hilarious to her.
I was not grounded at all. And so I am, I did the talk, I think,
We
the
were
podcast.
walking out of the house.
Yeah, I think the podcast did okay for the recording. I think
it was
I
perfect.
gathered everything up enough.
No, it was really good.
To
I
really
enjoyed
function.
last week.
Yes. But so yeah, then it was time to go home, and Sonya was walking me out to my car, and I had a thought, just this passing thought that said, you need to ground your ass before you drive. And before the end of the word ass went through my thought process, I flew across the grass and landed so hard I had to roll.
Yes.
And all I was doing was walking.
Yes.
And I just laid there and laughed. I mean, I just laughed.
did.
Sonia's like, oh my God, are you okay?
Well, I turned away to go back into the house. I thought she was well on her way. And then the next thing I know, I hear this commotion. And I turn around and she's like, belly up, laughing her ass off. And I'm just thinking, oh my God, what did you do? I think someone pushed her, but I didn't see it, so I can't be certain that wasn't,
Oh, so that was...
instant grounding.
Yeah.
Instant grounding.
Yes. My ass was on the ground. Here, you are now grounded. Instant manifestation.
It was hilariously terrifying.
It was... I didn't hurt. Nothing hurt.
Well, that's good.
I mean, for as hard as I landed, and
Right.
I kind of landed
Right.
on my right arm and had to roll, and I'm not as graceful as I used to be either.
Yeah, she
I'm
pulled
not-
it off. She pulled it off, though.
I'm not throwing around my flips like I used to when I was in
Right.
gymnastics. But yeah, that was absolutely hysterical, and I just laughed because after spending all the time that I was doing in the field and doing energy play, shall we say,
Right.
I connected so much that I instantly manifested a thought. And boy, there's a reason why we don't instantly manifest our thoughts.
Right.
I mean, seriously.
And it's more than 3 seconds, thank God. It's not like a cookie you drop on the ground. Because sometimes yours wasn't even, like you said, 3 seconds. You hadn't started the first of the words or finished the last of the words, and there it was.
Before it occurred, yes.
And, that is probably a good analogy, too, though, for paying attention to your thoughts and paying
Right.
attention to your words and being making sure that you're being clear. Like, I kind of feel like sometimes, like, I need to preface any thought with, I'm just thinking out loud here. I'm not manifesting.
Just FYI.
FYI, universe, take a break, go get a cup of coffee, because I'm just going to have some random thoughts generating for a moment or two.
We don't need to make them into anything.
Please don't.
Please don't.
Might be bad. It's like the 50-foot Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Yes, from Ghostbusters. What did they say? Don't think of anything dangerous. Don't think of anything.
I thought of the nicest, softest thing.
The Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. Oh my gosh, that's hysterical.
It is, but it's true though too. And I feel like right now things have just really gotten kind of, wonky.
Again.
Even more so, like we didn't just make a lateral move. We sort of like went up and then left. Or, left and then up. I don't know. But there's definitely been some strange... I feel like I need to start journaling these things because it's like I'm struggling here to tell you some of the strange things. Just trust me. Some strange shit's gone down in the last week.
Strange shit is going down. Well, and I am having these like leaps and bounds of awarenesses, and I'm really, really focusing. A couple of weeks ago, I started changing up, moving my body and doing more and moving my body because I got the sense that I needed to do that. So I started doing yoga at home, and then I actually joined the gym to just walk and ride the bike. I'm not out there working out.
Right.
Yesterday I went to the park. That was nice. And sat my ass down in the ground by choice.
Right.
To do some grounding.
Didn't get dropped
right
to the ground.
Right. I'm like, I learned my lesson. I learned. Right. But yeah, it's been a weird week. And so as Sonya and I do, we look at astrology. So we're going to talk about that. But before we do, I want to bring up that if you're not a member of our In My Experience community on Facebook and you're interested in astrology, I want to make sure that you know that we are going to start. It's a very casual learning about Astrology 101. So we're talking about looking at charts, what planets, houses, signs mean, some of the major aspects. But the core of why I want to do this is because Sonya and I talk so much about the transits that are going on.
We do.
And I want you all to be able to see what's going on in the transits and then bring it into your chart so you can see how it's affecting you.
Right.
And because I have found that so interesting and worthwhile. And I mean, like I said, we talk about it all the time.
We're both self-taught, 30, 40, 50 plus years of just looking at our own charts and trying to learn and discern and figure it out for ourselves. So, by no means would I call myself a professional. Her mother did charting, so she's probably got, some more knowledge about it than I do just because she had that in her home. Growing up and that, has probably given her, a bit more, well, she does, because she can talk aspects to me and I'm just like, huh? And then she breaks it down for me. I'm like, oh, okay. But, you start with your sun, moon, and rising because, the sun is what used to be in the newspapers and most people like, my horoscope is never like me. Well, because maybe you're more like your moon sign or your rising sign. Yep. And not even necessarily that we're going to be doing astrology readings per se. No. We just want to create, this is a book club, all right? This is an astrology wheel club. That's what it is. Looking at your wheel while we look at our wheel, and
comparing notes.
And self-discovery is the best because sometimes I've had astrology readings where afterwards I walked away and I just thought, they just kind of, that was like the Dell book version of my chart.
Like, that did nothing. I had an appointment with an astrologer who's very well known, actually a couple of them at different times, very well known in the city that we're in. And I was just like, no. And I learned the most steadying myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I'm not a professional, and I don't want to be a professional, but I am definitely an avid hobbyist.
Yes. Well, I might want to be a professional, maybe when I grow up. I don't know. I'm still learning.
That's on the shelf, still deciding.
It is. But that was how it was with tarot. I mean, I did it for 20 years before I did it professionally because it was more for me or friends or family, but I wasn't actually going to, hang a shingle and then they said, hang a shingle.
Here we were. Yeah, I never intended on doing that either, and that's what happened in 2009. It just, we fell together and that occurred. But yeah, so I'm really excited. Please join us for that in the group. And like I said, it's casual. There's no set dates. We're just going to put stuff up there.
Yep.
Sonya and I will join in. Sonya's got a lot of great resources that I don't know about. Like she has recommendations of books and people that she listens to. And so I'm excited to hear what she has to say with that.
So look for that.
Yes.
In the coming things. We were working on putting together sort of a workshop type thing.
Yes, we were.
And that quickly, and actually we worked on it for some time, 3.5 months.
It evolved.
It evolved.
And then it devolved.
Yes.
And I think it's evolving again.
It is. And it'll probably end up being a book rather than a class.
She said that word again.
I did say that word again because she told you I got some toys. I got a new deck of cards. These are the sacred.
I mentioned these, the Sacred
you did?
Rebels, yeah.
Well, I guess I must have been drinking tea at that moment. But the card that we both keep getting is the word wants to be written. So, okay, we'll see what that's
Seriously,
about.
like how many times while we
At
were sitting
least
here?
5.
Yeah. Oh, and there you go. We just continually, whether it's her or I that are holding the cards, we continually draw the same cards. And the intention was, at least today, was to look at cards that had to do with she and I.
And one of the other cards that we pulled today was called Faith in the Process. And so we wanted to talk about faith a little bit too today. Because yesterday, when we were having a conversation on the phone, it was all about fear.
Yes.
And I'm going to go on record right now and just talk about a fear and how
I'm going on record. It's official.
About a fear,
yes.
And then how I'm going to let faith transcend that fear.
I cannot wait.
There is a woman out there. I haven't read her books, but she's pretty well popular, Rachel Hollis, and she's had some challenges about some social media posts that she's had.
There have been some things that happened, yes.
I'm not going any further than that in her life because I don't need any, libel lawsuit.
We'll just leave it at that.
I'm just saying that this, for me, seeing a public figure in the wellness industry, and I don't know her story, and I don't know her validity, okay? Right. So, again, I just saw somebody that's put themselves out there as such and is now having to... Crashing and burning.
Basically.
And the moment that I saw it, I said, and that right there is why I keep my happy ass at home.
Girl, that has always been a fear for me going back to astrology. Please continue.
No. And jump in there because I know. You know.
Because I know.
I know you know. And then, of course, it was funny because, I do this, and then I hear my guides, Whatever.
If only you saw the faces she was making to go with that, too.
Because they just think it's just so silly. It's just silly of me to even compare myself and or let something like that, shut you down. Mm-hmm. Because you got to have faith. You got to just trust the process. You got to trust your journey, not compare it to anybody else's. We do a lot of comparison. And I think that's where we get ourselves in a lot of trouble too. Because when we compare ourselves to others, we either find ourselves wanting or we find them wanting. Mm-hmm. And then we create...
No one is ever whole.
Yeah. Yeah.
If we compare, no one is ever whole.
And so, how do I address this fear within myself? I have the sense, we're talking about the book, we're talking about the classes. I've been doing teaching and things like that for, God, I don't know, 15 years or something like that. And before that, I was just a know-it-all. And
I've just known everything all along.
well, that's what everybody said. I'm just going on what I've been told. You think you know everything.
Well,
hello,
Okay.
Claire Cognizant here. I don't know how I know this stuff. I just know this stuff. But that can create a lot of fears within you because, when well, maybe you don't know. When you just put yourself out there and you're authentic and you're real, you're bound to step on your train or somebody else's, and then you get the consequence. And you have enough consequences, they create fears, and then the fears say, don't do that. And then you won't have consequences. And then you find yourself sort of trapped in this bubble of illusion and falsehood that was created by yourself or someone else for no other reason than because you got scared for a minute.
right.
I mean, think about your kids. I don't want to go to bed, Mommy. There's a monster under my bed. And you look at them and you go, there's no monster under your bed. And they're looking at you with great big fat tears in their eyeballs going, but there is. And if you leave me, I'll die. And we do that as adults too.
Yeah, the
If I lose
monsters
this
just
job,
change.
I'll die. Right?
Oh, we've talked about that. I could turn any problem into me dying alone in the street. I mean, literally, that was where my mind went in every
Right.
large problem.
Which then makes you have to look at your fears with a discerning eye.
That's hard.
Am I fearful in this moment, or am I
Right.
just fearful?
Right.
And where does that fear stem from? What is the root of my fear? It's a monster under my bed. It's a fallacy. It's an illusion. But it felt so real to me. Like my heart was pounding. My palms were sweaty.
I swear I heard noises. I heard the monster under my bed.
And it's just my fear, which we realized. We're still trying to figure out who it was. I said it was Gary Busey that created it, but it probably wasn't. But I say that because he went around for a long time after his traumatic brain injuries talking about this. That fear is false evidence appearing real.
Yes, yes, and I heard that where we both used to, where I worked, where we went to school, that type of thing. So I don't know where it came from outside of that. But, and it's funny because I was just thinking about this yesterday, unrelated to the conversation we were having, that I remember in middle school, I think it was, middle school or high school, where this very strange phenomenon happened, and it freaked me out. So I would be with a group of people, right? And we were in a small school, and I mean, there were definitely cliques, but most of us were able to get along with each other, and we could hang out in larger groups too.
Because you were all in the same podunk town.
Yes.
Don't lay it too big for your britches, sweetheart.
We lived in a town of
That's right.
3,200, so there you go.
Right.
Yeah, so, and I remember becoming aware of the fact when I went to talk, the entire group would stop talking and look at me.
Ooh.
And I mean, it even became a joke for anyone who is listening.
You were like E.F. Hutton.
Yes, that's exactly what they said. They're like, you're like E.F. Hutton. When you talk, everybody listens.
Holy cow, that's
and
hilarious.
I was like, and I have goosebumps,
Right.
and I'm just like, I'm just some stupid teenager in a podunk town. And it was, I don't even know what it was.
You were Jimmy Dean. Come back to the Fire and Diner.
But it happened enough times that
Yeah.
even they noticed that it occurred.
Right.
And so that felt like a lot of pressure to put on me.
Right.
And that popped into my mind yesterday after our conversation.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm like, I wonder, because I've done speaking engagements. I've taught for years in front of groups. I am, in doing that, I am often told how confident I appear, and a lot of times, well, as you teach enough, then it's whatever.
But it's not your information
Well,
that you're sharing.
No, and I'm like, well, I guess I just look confident.
Mm-hmm.
That's just one of the masks that I have that come easily to me, because I can't always say I felt confident.
Right.
But so I don't know if that's it, or if the information I'm saying is coming from someone else, so it just flows out of me, and people are able to realize that maybe this is something worth listening to.
Gabriel, thank you.
That would be my son's middle name.
There you go.
But yeah, it was intimidating to me,
Bet.
and I don't remember consciously making a decision about talking or not talking, or changing anything.
Yeah.
But I came to the awareness that I think that's something that I still hang on to,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
and that I need to be really aware of my words, which I was also told by a ex-boss of mine too. She's just like, you need to watch what you say. She said, because your words can be sharp, and people listen to you, was the warning that I got.
Interesting.
So that wasn't what was going on at school. I wasn't being sharp with anyone. I was just joining a conversation.
It's just the power of your words.
Right.
And the power of your voice and your presence.
And so I'm sitting here and I'm like, I wonder how much of those things, because neither of those were bad.
No.
You know, they weren't traumas.
But in the moment, hey, but for a teenage girl to have the spotlight on her, and if you're not homecoming queen, that shit ain't happening. Like, that's the only time you want to have spotlight on you. Prom, homecoming queen, the hottest guy in school caught your eye. That's it. Other than that, please don't look at me. Because we weren't the teenagers like today's teenagers, where they are taking selfies and they're TikToking and they're like, it's all about them. Some would look at that as being vapid or, self-centered or vain. I think that it's interesting that they feel confident enough to express themselves in whatever manner they choose. There's no way. And like you, when I was in high school, I was in church choirs. We traveled all over the state of California in a bus, performing in front of churches, and acting and things like that. And I never had any issue with any of that.
Right.
And that's what I was saying, was like, because they weren't my words. Now let somebody ask me for my opinion.
Yes.
Let somebody ask me what, for me to, get up and give a speech or something like that was a totally different kettle of fish.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to think about those fears and how they have both shaped and hindered my life. Because some of the things I've looked at, I made a decision and a choice that if anything was ever, because I really was incredibly fearful and morbid, like morbidly, obsessively fearful. There were 8,000 ways that someone was going to die at any given moment, myself or others, and I really had a big fear of death. And so that sort of, guided and directed everything. Like, what's the risk assessment here? Like, am I likely to die, or am I more likely to have a good time?
So can I just have to say again, because it kills me, there's no one else that I know of that talks about risk assessment in daily life like I do, other than my friend Sonya. I mean, I have said this. Everything is a risk assessment. I've said it specifically about my son, too. But everything is a risk assessment. And I can run that. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, done. Decision made.
I think I was an insurance actuarian in another lifetime. Because that's got to be it. I don't know. The Marquis de Sade, What's the risk of them harming you? Not very good. Kill them.
Kill them.
Torture them first, then kill them.
Then we're fine. We're good.
Right.
And so I'm sorry.
No. But it's so true. And it is funny because there really is, like, the similarities just get to be after a while. It's just like, shut up. You're lying. You're just saying that. You did not.
You do not think that, because I think that.
You didn't have that life experience. You couldn't have. I told you that I had this life. No, you had this life experience. Stop it.
Stop.
So, twins separated at birth, 3 years apart.
3 years apart. 3 years and a day.
Right, 3 years. 1 day shy of 3 years.
Yes, there we go.
Let's put it that
Thank
way.
you.
Anyhow, so, I made this decision that I was going to if there was something that created fear within me, then I had absolutely no choice but to face that fear, but to deal with it. Like, no matter what else was going on, the moment that I realized that there was fear, fuck it, it was over. It was like, well, now I have no choice. And people have watched this and just been like, what are you doing? And it's like, I have to do it. Because I've tasked myself that I want to be fearless. And so that means whenever fear shows up for me, I have to face it. And I even had a few not so nice friends. They were good friends, but they weren't so nice. That would actually try and put that to the test. I jumped into a freezing swimming pool in the dead of winter in California one time because they were going to throw me in.
I wonder if this is a Mars Aries thing.
It could be, I don't know.
Because I've had the same...
Yeah.
I've had the same thought. If I am scared, and I realize that I'm scared,
yes.
that means I have to do it.
Right. I mean, so the things that I don't do are the things that I'm afraid of, but I don't realize that it's fear. I've labeled it something else.
Right.
But if I've labeled it fear, roll up the sleeves, hold my phone. I'm going in.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what allows that? Because I've also, well, yes, there's a little bit of insanity, perhaps some self-abuse or masochism, I don't know. But I really think that what it is faith.
Yeah.
It's accepting and allowing faith in myself to be able to get through or withstand whatever it is that's in front of me. And again, this wasn't like, oh, I want to do it. Like, I'm not base jumping, okay?
Just for the exhilaration of it.
Or any reason.
Any reason.
I fully admit that I have
way.
a fear of heights, and I do face it, and that one's going to take a while. It's better, but it's still going to take a while. Too many lifetimes being thrown off a cliff, I guess. I don't know.
Yes. Well, I have visited one of my lifetimes where I was literally thrown off a cliff, so I hear you.
So, but for everything else, I face, and I have faced those fears. I've driven Ortega Highway, white knuckled all the way, but I did it.
Yeah.
And because it's the windy roads too. It's not just heights; it's windy roads as well. Mm-hmm. And these things make no sense. And that was kind of the thing for me. Is like, if it's irrational, if it makes no sense, then it's not logical. Then I go all Spock with my moon in Capricorn, and then I must, I must contend with it. I must do something about it. So I get that in a lot of ways, I've overcome a lot of fears. I have a great deal of pride over that when I look back at my life from where I was to where I'm at now. And I've also recognized that fear has been replaced with faith. Mm-hmm. And that's because while I might be unsure, while I may not know, I'm getting huge confirmation bubbles on this one, mm-hmm. I have faith that it's going to work itself out one way or another. It has to. It can only go one way or another. Right. So when you know that, you can just surrender into that.
Just let it go.
Right? The worst possible thing, again, risk assessment, that can happen isn't going to kill me. And I've been in situations where I thought I was going to be killed. Mm-hmm. And in that moment, you have to sort of, put it into its appropriate, situational experience. But a lot of the fears were completely irrational and stupid and dumb. And just based on the fact that I was afraid of life.
Right. And that is something different than I just think back to when I was driving from Arizona to San Diego, and without going into the long story, I found myself in a truck between two men that I had known for a man that I had known for approximately 12 hours and his son, driving on dirt roads in the desert because they're taking me out to lunch.
Oh. Oi.
And this wasn't like necessarily poor decision making that got me there. And my car.
Are you sure?
No, my car broke down.
Okay. And then instead of fixing your car, they're going to take you to lunch?
Well, it was the hotel owner because I had to spend the night because I was
gotcha.
in the middle of nowhere.
Wow.
Literally in the desert. So I had to
See,
spend
she
the
needed
night.
to tell a little more of the story because I had to have some context.
Sonya's looking at me going,
No,
what
this
the
was
fuck
poor
did you do?
decision making. I'm sorry. I'm going to disagree with you on this one.
No,
Anyway, keep going.
I was driving, my car broke, and I like literally just...
Two angels appeared out of the desert.
Yes, glided in to an auto shop in the middle of freaking nowhere in the desert between Phoenix and San Diego. And so they could fix my car, but they had to wait till the next day because it was like 5 o'clock. Mm-hmm. There was a hotel across the road. So my car that had everything in it was put into the gas station and locked.
Okay.
And I had my purse, and I literally had like $7 on me.
Wow.
They didn't have a restaurant.
That's a nightmare waiting to happen.
In the motel, right? So he's like, I'm the guy, very nice, the motel owner, very nice. He gave me his personal VCR player. Yes, that's how long ago this was, and let me choose a couple of VCRs.
Movies, videos.
Yes.
Videos.
Yes, thank you. Let me
VHSs.
VHS. There, thank you.
You're welcome.
Let me choose a couple of movies to watch. She's like, because there really isn't anything to do.
There's no TV reception.
Right, and so I sat down and I ate my dinner from the machine.
I was going to ask if it was vending machine dinner.
And kept some money so I would have something to eat for tomorrow.
Right.
And, I went to bed because what else could I do? So in the morning I woke up and I had to walk my ass across the road to check on my car. They gave me a time. I'm walking back. Motel guy's like, how you doing? I'm okay. He's like, I'd like to take you to lunch. I'm like, because I'm hungry. I'm like, okay. So we get in the car and I sit down in truck. He sits down. I sit down in the middle and then I sit down and then his son comes. His son is like twice my size. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to die. They're going to kill me and just drop my body off in the middle of the desert and no one will ever know.
Uh-huh.
But I was there.
Right.
So there we go.
So do you go to this place a lot? Is it like well known in the town? I'd be chatting about just chat away.
So yeah, they took me to this little hole in the wall, once again in the middle of the desert, and we sat down, with the red and white checkered plastic tablecloths and the yellow and red plastic cups. You know what I'm talking about. Absolutely.
I do.
And, they fed me. Brought me back, and by the time it was back, my car was done, and I went on my way. So I don't even know what we were talking about. But yeah.
Well, that would be faith over fear.
That was faith over fear.
Now, the question I have for you is, did you ever go back? Does this town really exist?
I don't know.
Right. I would take a drive if you remember, because, places like that are few and far between San Diego and Phoenix.
It was really weird. I remember it was at the top of a hill, and I started, my timing chain broke.
Oh.
So I just basically glided down the hill and turned, because I couldn't do anything. Right. I had no transmission.
Right.
I couldn't. My car just went on gravity.
Yes.
And just pulled in and stopped. Man, I had 2 angels, 12 angels, whatever, all over that situation. So, yes, faith over fear.
And it worked out for you.
Thank God.
Maybe there's been moments like that for, our listeners where I got a couple of stories in my, hip pocket of, I can't believe that I survived that, but I did, right?
Yeah.
And then even looking back on it, I might look back and go, well, there are a couple where I look back and go, yeah, that was really dumb, but I got through it. But most of them were, I can't believe that I was so weirded out or scared or whatever, because it ended up being just such a wonderful and serendipitous experience. Right? And so, fear can keep you from those moments.
Yeah,
you could have stayed locked up in the car going, no, call the police. I'll only talk to the police.
That totally is going to be an experience I'm going to talk about for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Because it was so amazing. It could have turned out another way, absolutely, but it didn't. And it was wow.
Yeah. But our fears can be, that great big scary monster under the bed and inhibit us from allowing life to gift us
Right.
with its graces.
Well, it's with the work that I've been doing about fear for myself is I'm trying some new things in my meditation, and I'm focusing on my chakras. And so in my meditation, I've been going through opening, well, specifically the first and second chakra, but opening them instead of clamping down on them. And specifically dealing with fear.
Yes.
Because the first chakra is not feeling safe.
Correct.
I mean, you don't feel safe on this earth, you don't feel safe in this body, you don't, it's not feeling safe, period.
Yeah. It's all about the basic survival.
Right. I'm not going to be able to survive. And while I had done, like everyone else probably listening to this, you've done a shit ton of work previously in your life, emotionally to heal yourself and balance yourself and so on and so forth. And it is coming up that this is a thing for me right now. And it's bringing up some old stuff, but it really has to do with something that is more current in my life. That's something that I want to change, which is what brought me to working on this meditation. And what I have found or was reminded that when I am scared, I strike out at people, I get angry at people, I get impatient, I judge them. That is all because of fear.
Sure.
When I am not feeling that fear, I'm calmer, quieter, clearer, and more balanced.
More open.
More open, absolutely. So all of these things are very, very real and true for me, and I imagine that they are real and true for everyone else.
Right.
And I have been just in awe of, I've been doing this, I don't know, not even a week. And I am in awe of the shifts that I am feeling internally within myself, because I was carrying this fear over something that I thought I had taken care of.
Right.
So I thought I wasn't labeled fear because, like I said, with Sonya, if I realize that I am scared of something, I need to do something about it.
Yes.
Because that's not okay. Now, that doesn't mean I need to run into, uranium mine and dance around and pick up. I would be scared to do that, but I think that's a valid, rational fear. So don't do that.
Yeah. Along with base jumping.
Right. No need to do that. But yeah, in my daily living, in trying to be who I am, doing what I want to do, having a life that I want to live, if there's a fear, then I need to address it because it's stopping me.
Yep.
And so that work has brought that up for me, and I am so unbelievably grateful to become aware of it.
Yeah. It's interesting when you do all the work, like we've done, like I'm sure a lot of our listeners have done, and you've made just huge, tremendous, like you can look back over the course of 20 years and go, oh yeah, I'm nowhere near the person I was then, and it's just fantastic. It is always so surprising, so interestingly surprising, when something new comes up and you go, oh, I thought, and I guess part of that is so that one, especially if you tend to do things quickly and efficiently, or you're a rip the Band-Aid off kind of person, you could blow through a lot of your stuff pretty quick. And then what are you going to do, right? You get another 30 years on this planet with nothing to do, you're going to get bored. So at some point you decide, okay, let me slow this down a little bit. I've done enough now to where I can sort of function.
I'm functional.
In an okay way, and I'm really sort of starting to enjoy things. But every once in a while, you got to have a little, fart bubble come up, release a little pressure, if you will. So that you
just
can
snorted.
Yeah, just so you can have some, something else to work with, right? Something to talk about, something to sort of bat around a little bit, and to keep you motivated. Because otherwise, I do think that if we're not growing, we're dying. and stagnation. And it's so interesting because for me, it's like I wanted to get to this space that I've gotten to that's been really great and peaceful and safe. I've spent a lot of time working on my, lack and scarcity issues and things like that. And I've gotten to this point. It kind of took a global pandemic to get me to finally release my death grip, my Kung Fu death grip. But I did. And it's been just amazing. It really has been. I like it. I wanted to keep this way forever.
Yeah.
And I also recognize that I've become a bit stagnant. And I've also recognized that rather than allowing some fears to come back in, because I could do that.
Right.
That stagnation could lead me to some stinking thinking, which could create some illusions of fear so that I could have a little, weekend DIY project of my soul, if you feel me.
Yes, I do.
And no, not necessary.
Yep.
I can sit in this space of unknowing, of stagnation, of fear, of whatever it is in this moment, frustration or boredom, whatever, it doesn't matter. A state of being, and also recognize that it is just a sensation. I don't have to do anything with it.
Right.
Either pull it towards me or push it away from me.
Right.
And that is faith. 100%. I think I shared before when we talk about like manifesting for the new year, that one of the things that I learned, I think it was 2019, might have been 2018, but I think it was 2019, where I chose my word for the year was faith.
Oh, yes.
Remember that? And
yes.
Did the universe give me a whole lot of reasons to have it.
Yes.
And so I've said, be careful. Be very careful about your intent. Because even when you think you're being intentional, even when you think, nope, I've pondered and I've thought and I've ruminated and I feel like this is the intention and the word and the theme that I want to set for my year. And then, you get to about April and you're like, what happened? I don't understand, right? Because risk assessment. What does
I thought I did my risk assessment.
What does it mean to have faith? What does that look like?
Right.
What might you need if you don't really understand? So again, one of the things I like to do is go look up the definition of said, intention.
Yes.
So that I fully and completely understand all the variations, the nouns, the adjectives, the verbs. And then be as detailed as I possibly can. And this is true in manifestation, right? You what you think about, you bring about. So you want to be mindful of what you're thinking about because you are creating this. If your life is shit, I'm not saying that you haven't had some unfortunate things come your way. Of course you have. And your mindset also plays a piece in that.
Right.
I am sorry, it does.
Right.
And I know this is true because I have witnessed people who have had tremendous hardships and are in such a state of joyous expression, even in those moments that I just, you look at them like, what's wrong with you? But because they have faith.
Right.
Because something deep within them says, no matter what I'm experiencing, I will be okay.
Right.
And so that's what I think faith is really about. Knowing you're okay.
And faith is in the process. In reading the definition of the card, they said surrender, have faith.
Correct.
So, I don't know how many times where I put myself in the situation where I have literally laid on the floor, face down, like arms eagle spread, right? Arms, legs just spread out, and just, okay, I surrender everything. Because I can't. I think it's funny.
She didn't say it like that, though, I can guarantee you.
No.
It was more like, okay. Anyhow, you get our drift.
But yeah, and it's what is amazing is, and what is fully and completely my choice, is how much pain I am willing to go through before I hit that point of
You're
surrender.
strong like bull.
Strong like bull. And and this is a shift that I had last week too, and it has a lot to do with having faith and surrendering. Is in the meditation, I got the message: stop worrying or stop trying to prove that you're so strong.
Yeah.
And just be powerful.
Yeah. Oh.
Right?
Let me admit. Continue.
Because strength is about, strength we create by pushing or working against something to
Right.
build our muscles. So we have to have something to be against.
Right.
To create our strength in any way, shape, or form, whether we're talking just pure muscle strength,
Right.
mental strength, strength in
Force
life.
of will.
Right. Do we, and so I've had this shift within me just in the past week. Do I want to be strong or do I want to be powerful? Because powerful has to do with working with the energy of life.
Mm-hmm.
Girl, I want to be powerful. I don't want power. That's
Right.
a different thing. I almost said that. I'm like, no, that's the wrong wording.
Right.
I want to be powerful. I don't need to spend, and I think this is Mars and Aries again, right? Thinking I need to be strong.
Right.
And so I have gone through all these tribulations and trials to be strong. No,
Right.
I want to be powerful.
Mm-hmm. Love
And yeah, right. And so but to get to that point, it is really surrendering and just stepping away from these fights and these battles of will or strength to be strong.
It's so true. It's so true. And faith is the process.
Faith is
that
part of
gets you
that,
there.
absolutely.
From strength to power, it requires faith too. Because when you feel like you're strong, it's almost like, I gotta carry the sword. I gotta carry the cross.
Right, now you have to prove it.
Right. I gotta carry the cross, right? Because there are some of those, right? They're very strong in their victim.
Oh, yeah.
I've been very
absolutely.
strong in my victim.
Me too.
I've been incredibly strong in my disempowerment.
Yes.
And so, conversely, I probably have it to be strong in my empowerment.
Right.
And it's really just, it's like a computer, but right? It's like programming. It's ones and zeros. That's all it is. It's on and off. That's it. And, we have these wonderful, massive computers. And when I was going to school to get my degree in software engineering, learning about computers and the basics of it was the simplicity of the technology was astonishing to me. It's literally just flipping switches off and on.
Right.
Right? But doing it, like at the speed of sound.
Mm-hmm.
And that creates the computations and the outputs, right? The inputs are very simple. The outputs can be quite extravagant. And then, of course, we learned about storage. And now we're all experiencing storage issues.
How much a month do you pay for storage?
Right? But I mean, if we had to store, like physically house all of our thoughts, all of our wishes, all of our desires, all of our fears, all of our hopes, all of our dreams, we'd be running out of some bandwidth by now.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
No way.
Yes. That's my warehouse of bandwidth.
Hello, of bullshit. That's the but warehouse of bullshit. And so when you have faith in the process, it's like cloud. Now I don't need to have a hard drive. I could just store it in the cloud. Does it even exist? Right? Mm-hmm. And so you were going to wonder how I was going to tie all that together, weren't you? Methods to my madness. So the processing of fear through faith leads to being more powerful rather than strong.
Right.
It's very simple.
It's
it's elementary, Watson.
It's It's beautiful and it's easy, but we have to, I mean, it is easy once you make the decision.
Right.
And you may have to remake it a couple of times because that's how the universe works sometimes. But I mean, the actual, when you get to the point, it's just, you're there. And
it's almost so easy that it gets a little boring. Because you're like, I used so much energy before, right? Trying to, climb that, 90-degre mountain. And now, I can take the chairlift. I don't know what to do with myself. Look around, take some pictures, spot wild animals on the ground. I don't know.
Well, there's a huge shift between trying to force and make something happen in the physical world and stepping into the energetic, divine, whatever world to create.
Yes.
And so when you are so used to forcing and making and fighting something happen in the physical world, it feels like...
I'm so with her.
She's like dancing.
I'm snapping my fingers to the beat of this new tune, y'all.
It feels like you're gonna do nothing.
Yeah.
And when you are people like Sonya and I, we're like, we've defined ourselves with the battles we've fought and the things we've overcome, and so, oh my God, what are we gonna do over there? Right. But you know what? It's amazing. We can create anything we fucking want.
And we don't have to do the heavy lifting.
No.
We don't have to schedule movers.
No.
We can
thank God.
We can just, it's like...
Because movers never show up on time.
No.
That's my experience.
Right? Or, get in your car, drive to the store, grab a shopping cart, do the shopping. Now we go on to Instacart, we order it, and then it shows up on our doorstep a couple hours or a couple of days later.
Yeah.
Like, I so see what is happening in the external world is showing us how it can work in our internal world. And that can be good or bad. There's no judgment there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right? You can say to myself, I gotta go home after working 8 hours and defrost some meat real quick because I forgot to set it out, and then spend 2 hours at the stove cooking dinner to feed people for 5 minutes, and then clean up the mess and go to bed. Or I can call and order pizza. And it will be delivered to me. Hot, delicious, and I get to put my feet up and watch Netflix.
And sit down and eat it. Yeah. So it's a huge shift. And I think it's that mindset, that change. And I think it is the conversation we had yesterday. I think it's the stumbling block for a lot of humanity.
Yeah.
Humanity has defined ourselves by what we've had to do to overcome.
And we keep going back.
Or we haven't overcome yet, because there's a lot of things that are going on that don't need to be happening. But we've defined ourselves with that. We've identified with that. And the thought, what is there to do if we don't do that?
Right. What's it like to live a faithful life rather than a fearful one? How might that change? And that's just one thing for an individual. Imagine if that's the collective.
Right.
Individually.
Right.
How might that change our landscape, inner and outer?
Right.
Because I do feel like the only thing that's keeping us sort of trapped here, the restrictor, if you will, is the backseat driver.
Damn those backseat
that
drivers.
Just keeps telling us, slow down. You drive like a maniac.
Or my son, when I'm driving and I make a wrong turn, or a different turn going home, he's in the back going, ouch, ouch. I'm like, honey, you're okay. You're not hurt.
Right. But I am, because you're taking me into the unknown right now.
Because it's different.
Right. And it's probably going to not end well for me.
Right.
And where do they get this from? Us, of course. And where do we get it from? Them. And where did they get it from?
We share.
We just,
We share.
one hand washes the other.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, if we're going to go around in our little, trike or trolley in this picture, she's literally in a radio flyer called Fig. It's very interesting. In, prayer pose, I don't know.
That looks like surrender.
Is it? It does look like surrender.
That's a surrender pose.
It is absolutely a surrender pose.
Uh-huh.
And that's all you can do in some situations. I literally watch myself and others try their will, their force of will, to their own destruction.
Mm-hmm.
And I've, shared stories in the past of that. I won't go into them today, but where I have done that, where I have pushed my own force of will to the point that I literally was on the ground with the boot on the head, on the ground, face being smashed into the pavement by the boot on the head, on the ground, and going, okay, I get it, I'll stop now. And they're like, no, you won't. And that's why we're not taking the boot off your head.
That's why we're going to stay here for a moment.
Right. And let me think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Let me think about what I need to do. And, I use that expression because that's what it's felt like to me at times.
Yeah.
And in my victimhood, that's what it's felt like to me at times.
Right.
And in childhood, I've experienced that. I had brothers, they're real good at sitting on you and torturing you, pushing your face into the grass or the sand or the mud or the dirt or whatever.
Yeah.
I had to go have glass cleaned out of my eye one time because...
Wow.
Yeah. Because they pushed me to the ground and then hit me in the face with a dirt clod.
So you wanted some literal interpretations in this
like
lifetime.
how you got tripped up out there? I feel you. I've been tripped like that too. But what I've realized, and they even talk about this in self-defense,
mm-hmm.
when someone grabs you, don't pull away from them. Lean into them.
Right.
Because when you lean in, it throws off the counterbalance.
Right.
And then they fall.
Right.
And the same is true in your head.
Right. Energetically, it's the exact same thing.
Quit pulling and resisting against it and lean into it and watch it tumble right over top of you like a ninja.
As you roll away.
As you roll off. And then you jump up like, I got this.
Yeah.
That didn't even hurt.
to quote me after I fell on my ass in the dirt. But yeah, so it's energy. What you resist persists is basically what you explain.
Yeah.
Someone comes up and grabs you to force you to do something. The natural inclination in the physical 3D is to, I don't want to go that way.
Right.
And pull back. And that creates the tension.
It does. 100%.
It creates the tension. And so, yeah, true on all levels. And that takes me to wanting to talk about the astrology, especially today.
Yes.
Because Uranus is currently in Taurus.
Uh-huh.
And so if you've been listening
Waking
a while...
up the earth.
Mm-hmm, if you've been listening a while, you were around when we were talking about all the fun stuff happening in Capricorn, right? And so that is shaking up the structures that we have relied on. So now Taurus is about safety, security. It's also an earth sign.
Stability.
So stability. So it's affecting us in physical 3D form.
Right.
Right? So Uranus there is unexpected, shocking.
For no good damn reason. Oh, I'm sorry.
If you're familiar with tarot cards, the Tower could be an appropriate comparison with the power of Uranus.
Yes.
So it can be, there can be wonderful things that come to it or come from it, but it's difficult. So you put that volatile energy into a sign that doesn't like change. Any Taurus out there going, yeah.
Right?
Right, waving your hand in the air. I don't like change unless it's pretty.
And it's just going by on the window as I'm sitting on a train, going to a destination that I like.
That's right. So
On vacation.
On vacation.
Because those Turians do love their vacays.
Where I can sit and have my drink. Watch the whatever nature I'm going to be watching in my protected space. But, yeah, so that is going on. But also right now, the sun is right there with it. And today specifically, moon is opposed in Capricorn. Or not opposed in Capricorn, but it's trine in Capricorn. So you've got the moon with the earth, which is, I like my details, I like it straightforward, give it to me A, B, C, D, it's going to work that way, or there's going to be problems. And all of these combined have us leaving or feeling unsure. Oh. And it could be just
ungrounded.
Physically in our body, yes.
Yes.
Ungrounded, unsure, maybe feeling a lack of security, whether anything has actually happened or not. Nothing actually has to happen for this overall feeling to occur.
Right.
So one of the things that we will do in the group is have you pull your own chart, and you would see where these planets are landing in your own chart.
Yeah.
To see how it's affecting you personally.
Correct. Like what house is it transiting? What, and how is that from where your blueprint is, right? Because with these transits, right, they're going to eventually, for everybody, no matter where you are, they will touch you because everybody has, most everybody has Taurus, or at least a placement for Taurus.
Right. Taurus is going to be somewhere in your chart.
Yes. Uranus is going to be somewhere in your chart, right? And so, like for example, when we had the Capricorn North Node or South Node going on, and the North Node in Cancer, that was my first and seventh house.
Right.
So that was me and everybody that wasn't me. In partnership or not.
Right.
Right? Because it was about those frameworks, those structures, those systems.
Right.
How do they work? Do they need to be broken down, dismantled, rebuilt, right? Demolished, reinforced, whatever.
Right. For us specifically, because I also have Cancer rising, so that all was going on in the seventh house. So everything, just to reword what she said, everything that is not us.
Related to
everything.
And so now, we've got Gemini North Node, and wherever that is, that's the little, trip that we're on right now. And we'll talk more about what nodes are and things like that. But with that, and Uranus and Taurus, and, remember our friends Mars and Mercury?
I love them.
They're doing their things. But Mars is in Cancer right now. And Mars in Cancer, Cancer is, its ruling planet is the moon. So Mars is on our moons, literally our moons. So we're all going to be emotionally affected,
right,
good or bad, by this Mars in Cancer transit that's happening. Right? And Mars doesn't do well in Cancer.
No, it's not a good vehicle for the natural expression of Mars. Absolutely.
Right. And Cancer isn't liking it either.
No.
So, when you take these things together, right, unexpected shocks to our physical systems, and then how you feel about that, right, that action that was being taken by Mars, how's that make you feel? It's almost like that scene from, The Princess Bride, And please answer honestly, for posterity's sake. How does this make you feel?
How does this make you feel? Please answer honestly.
So, there's something to sit with there.
Right.
And what I would offer, what I'm doing for myself is I'm looking at, is this empowering or disempowering? Do I need to have faith or fear? Because sometimes, like we said, fear is healthy.
There are absolutely situations where...
It'd be a good idea for me to be a little cautious in this moment.
Right.
And how because that's about safety, which is earth based as well, right? So we've got some other things that are to be coming into play here in the next few days. I mean, Venus just came out from behind the sun, which will be good. That will bring some ease for all of us, because when she's behind the sun, she's up to no good.
You cannot see what's going down.
Yeah, and there's nothing like a secretive woman. Hello.
Well, you know, for me, we had a full moon recently in Scorpio, right?
Oh.
So all of that fun stuff going on in Taurus, which is personally in my 11th house. Then the full moon in Scorpio, which is in my 5th house, right? So this was a real time for me to, now I'm not in, 5th house is children and romantic relationships. There's other things, but we're going to go with that,
Sure.
right? So it would, and I'm not in a relationship, but what I found myself doing is doing clearing from old relationships, some garbage that was still sitting around in my energy field, that I wasn't necessarily aware of until Scorpio came around and the whole thing was set up in my chart. And I mean, one of the things I love the most is that more often than not, I find that I am already acknowledging and experiencing what is going on in my life, and I look at the astrology and I'm like, well, of course, what the fuck? What else would I do?
Right?
And it's already happening.
Now I know why I've been doing this.
Right. Okay, there you go. And I find it so, I mean, it's empowering. It's empowering to know that the path that I am naturally, intuitively doing puts me in the flow of the energy of life.
Yeah.
And even with the challenges, it's so empowering to me, because then next time I can trust it even more.
Right.
And next time I can trust it even more. And that is probably like the motivating thing that made me want to start the astrology 101, quote unquote, in the group.
Right.
Because I want us all to be empowered.
Well, and isn't that interesting too, because we have been studying our charts for a long time. We've seen some corollaries and some connections. But right now, in this present time, I know for myself, it's like I always used to say, I dig astrology, but I don't live and die by the transits.
Right.
Well, you know, now, I mean, again, I'm not saying I live and die, but I sure do check in every day.
Right.
Because it is so crystal clear. And I'm sure this isn't the first time, but for me it is, you know. Because, again, before there was astronomy, there was astrology. So I'm sure that, you know, this was crystal clear for a lot of explorers. We'll call them explorers. But, yeah, right now it's literally like, what's happening? Oh, that's happening. Oh, and look, there it is, happening in the world. Isn't that beautiful?
Happening in the world, happening in my body.
I can totally see it. And so, you know, it's as close to a crystal ball outside of yourself.
Right.
And your own inner wisdom. It's as close to a crystal ball as we're going to get right now.
Right.
And that's what makes it so cool. Because, you know, say what you will, you know, the COVID clump was the Capricorn clump, right? I mean, it had Pluto transiting, it had Saturn transiting, it had Jupiter transiting. If that wasn't, let's take some weird funky virus and blow it up around the planet,
right.
I don't know.
And tear down some systems. Tear down some, yeah.
And if you follow that timeline of those planets, a little bit different placement, same outcome, because the 3 same players were involved. You know, Spanish flu.
1918, yeah.
1918.
Right.
I couldn't think of the year.
Yes.
You know, because these things, you know, they do come around again, because we're on a great big circular elliptical path.
Yep.
And so we just find it helpful, and we also find it entertaining. And you can get down a lot of rabbit holes. There are so many different directions that you can go with astrology that, you know, there's no way that we could touch on all of everything.
And I don't even want to.
No.
I don't,
No.
My goal is to open the door.
Yes.
And give you some real, information that you can utilize yourself and offer some trusted and valid places that you can look up, because just as there's good stuff and good people and good information, there's equal of the other side.
And that will help you to build your faith.
Right.
Because knowledge is power. And yes, you have to surrender and have faith. That's not without information, though, right?
Right.
In religion, they have religious texts that they can read that helps to solidify their faith. Just to use an example. I'm not saying astrology is a religion. Please don't write me any emails.
Please no.
I'm just saying that when you have information that can help, but only so far. Because faith is about moving forward with absolutely no proof whatsoever of its legitimacy, its validity. So.
And there has to be a willingness, Sonya and I were talking about this earlier too, a willingness to play. And I've used this term before, and I tried to search for another term that would work, but there isn't another term, not for me. It is play. It is literally just try it and see. Just suspend your doubt, right? And you could decide it's not worth it. You know, everyone has their own way. So go you. But suspend your doubt and just see what happens.
And then let us know.
Yes.
Because we love to hear your comments and your experiences. Because
I'm looking forward to the conversations in the group.
It's going to be cool.
I'm looking forward to it.
So I think we went a little over today, but that's what happens when you start talking about things like faith and fear. We could continue to go on for another 45 minutes, but we won't, because YouTube has algorithms and things. Though, there it is.
All right. No, this feels like a good time. We will end it here.
So I would offer to you that, if there was anything in here this week that you found, or maybe you just thought, you know what, I haven't really looked at my chart, go to astro.com and print it out, or put in your information and pull your chart and just look at it. And if there's anything that pops out to you that you're like, what's that? Google it. Start there, because you can do sun, moon, rising, but the real meat is when you start getting real obscure and arcane.
Well, and it goes, it's just like, and
it's very intuitive.
Jack watches the dog play, right? That's reading.
Yep.
And there's a point.
Yep.
And there's a thing.
Yep.
And then you keep going and you get into Shakespeare.
Right. I was going to say that. Or Keating.
Right.
Or Keats.
Right. So it's just how far you want to dabble, play, learn, be an active hobbyist or whatever. Anyway.
And
so much.
It can be fun.
It can be fun.
And you might discover some things about yourself that you didn't know you had in you.
Right.
But obviously you do, because there it is in your blueprint.
There it is.
You may not have known what was behind that false wall, but your architect did.
Love that. I love that.
All right. So until next week, I'm Sonya Lee.
And I'm Piperlyne. Thank you for joining us. Take care of you. We'll talk soon.
Bye.